Welcome back to the Listen to My Opinion podcast. I'm your host, Lamo, and we got a lot of stuff we're going to talk about today. The first thing I want to get into is why Sean Woodson is, in my eyes, the best low-level prospect that I've seen probably in all of my years of watching MMA. First thing I want to talk about with him is his proportions, his size, because it's entirely unique for the featherweight division. He's 6'2", with a 78-inch reach. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I've never seen a build like that at featherweight, and he could realistically fight at like 4 or 5 weight classes. Like if he just adds muscle to his frame, he could easily fight at 4 or 5 weight classes, and he's just super unique. That it's just a different kind of athlete that we're looking at here. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, well, Stephen Struve's tall, but he gets his shit rocked every fight, right? Sean Woodson is also extremely skilled. I think he has a boxing background, and that would explain how he's able to shift into combinations so much. The guy can switch stances like it's nothing, and his rhythm is never disrupted by it. He plays with the jab, he builds off the jab. He actually incorporates kicks and knees into his game, and his knee is literally like an uppercut. He can throw it in combination, and it can reach so far because of his ridiculous proportions that it looks like an uppercut. It acts like an uppercut. It's crazy, man. His fight with Bochniak is literally all you need to see. Watch Zabit. We can all agree that Zabit's a top 5 fighter featherweight, right? He's got the well-rounded skill set. He's proven himself against lower prospects and even a little better prospects. He's never went 5 rounds, but you know what I mean. We know that for MMA, Zabit is top 5. And watch how Zabit struggled with Bochniak at points, and then watch how Sean Woodson never struggled at all. He never struggled. The only time that Bochniak had a little bit of success is whenever he was able to grapple and maintain control, but he was never able to get any offense off of it. And that is one crucial aspect that I look for in prospects. Your takedown defense, your grappling defense doesn't have to be flawless. You don't have to avoid grapplers because it's a lot easier to hang on to the clinch than it is to get offense from the clinch. So I don't necessarily hold that against younger prospects who are just now dabbling into MMA. And Woodson was doing all the right things. Remember, Bochniak's not an elite fighter. We don't look at him and go, oh, you beat Bochniak, that means you'll be champion. But what we can do is understand that Bochniak isn't a bad MMA fighter. He has a good grappling awareness, and he has serviceable striking and insane durability. So Bochniak doesn't suck at wrestling. Understand this. He's not bad. He actually had good entries on his wrestling when he was trying to wrestle Sean Woodson. Sean Woodson tried to pop him with the straight, and Bochniak immediately countered that into a blast double. I guess I wouldn't call it a blast double, but he countered the straight, ducked under, and went for a double. But Sean Woodson's so good already in his career that he was able to avoid most of the offense that Bochniak was trying to set up off this takedown attempt. And Bochniak was able to lift, slam, and scramble and attempt to hook Woodson's ankle with his hands so that way Woodson couldn't scramble back up effectively. Bochniak's doing everything that the coaches drill you to do. Bochniak's doing everything that you need to do to establish control, but Woodson's still fighting out of it. Part of that's because of his ridiculous frame, but I think a lot of it is due to his athleticism and technique. So being young in MMA like that and being able to stop takedowns against a more experienced opponent is very, very valuable, and it says a lot of good things about your future, especially at the highest levels of the sport. And that's not even getting into his striking that's already more polished than probably 80% of MMA fighters. The guy knows how to feint. He's constantly giving you different reads. His footwork is actually surprisingly good. Now, Bochniak's not the best pressure in the world, so we don't know how his footwork's going to work against someone that can cut the cage more effectively. But Woodson's able to pivot and regain the center of the cage so he can keep working his distance striking. He's able to incorporate shoulder feints, hip feints to lull his opponent to sleep so he can keep playing that distance game. And that's what I try to see to a fighter is that you might be good at distance striking, but how well are you with your cage awareness? When you're getting backed up, when you're getting pressured, do you understand, hey, now's a good time to throw offense, or hey, now's a good time to reset to the center of the cage? And Woodson seems to understand when to do these things. The only criticism I really do have of him is that sometimes he was getting caught into these clinch situations when I think that he shouldn't have. He's got the frame to properly post out, but sometimes he was just too worried about landing that uppercut or landing that straight. But I suppose that will come with time. But basically, Sean Woodson is a super seasoned striker already in almost every aspect, and his grappling defense actually looks pretty solid. So if you get done listening to this and you're bored and you want to watch some fights, watch Zabit fight Kyle Bochniak first. Watch that fight. It's a good fight. You're going to have a good time watching it. But after that, immediately watch Sean Woodson fight the same opponent. Watch Sean Woodson versus Kyle Bochniak after you watch the Zabit fight. Notice the similarities of how they dealt with him, but notice who was more efficient. That's what I want you to understand. That's why Sean Woodson is such a promising prospect, and I will be so upset if he just loses somehow. And the next thing I'm going to rant about, and this is from the heart, this is something I want to talk about and just get it off my chest because I'm tired of seeing it. Tony Ferguson disrespect. I don't want to see it, man. Like, I know it's going to exist. I know me complaining about it's not going to make it go away. I get that, but I still want to bitch about it because this is what this podcast is for. It's not that I really like Tony as a person. I mean, quite frankly, he's kind of a dick. I understand if you don't like Tony Ferguson. I mean, just watch him on The Ultimate Fighter, and he's just a huge asshole. Just a type of guy you wouldn't want to be around. So I get if you don't like him. But I love him as a fighter. I absolutely love him as a fighter. He is fantastic, man. He is so uniquely great of a fighter that I just can't help but feel the need to defend him because he's so good in the cage. But you know what's going to happen, right? You all know what's going to happen. You can see it coming from a mile away. Tony's going to eventually fight Khabib, and Khabib's going to beat him because Khabib beats everyone because no one can get away from Khabib's ground game. And then people are going to look back at Tony Ferguson and say, oh, well, he was never really that good. And that's just a tragedy, man. That's just a pure tragedy, plain and simple. There is nothing more sad than to think that when Tony Ferguson retires that people are going to think that he was never really close to the best. And he was. He was. Prime Tony Ferguson causes so many problems for Khabib. So many. Mike Brown himself said that if he could go back and tell Dustin Poirier one thing, it would be, don't go backwards. Don't go backwards. Not going backwards describes Tony Ferguson to a T. That's what he does. He walks forward and he pressures you. He rarely ever takes a step backwards unless he gets hurt. And he might be out of his prime now, so he might get hurt more easily. And that's why I think he might concede ground to Khabib in a matchup nowadays. But if it was 2016, 2017 Tony, I think that he would just eat the shots and keep going. And that's something that we haven't seen Khabib have to deal with, is someone that's walking him down, is someone who's giving him pressure. And then, while he's walking him down, Khabib is going to be forced to either get a clinch or hit an open shot. And when he hits an open shot, that is what Tony Ferguson's game is made for. His game is made for you to hit open shots on him. That's what his front headlock game's there for. I just really see prime Tony Ferguson as a real big issue for Khabib. And I think that it might be too late for him. And the fact that he might or likely will lose to Khabib is like going to give everyone a reason to downplay him, and that's a tragedy to me. And I know what you're thinking. I mean, fuck, I see it every day. I see people already saying that he's not that good. I mean, I can't go a week without someone saying, oh, McGregor, Gaethje, or Poirier, anyone in the top lightweight would just starch him. I mean, I get it, yeah. These guys are great fighters. They hit really hard. They have good accuracy. They could easily hit Tony Ferguson on the chin and put him to sleep. I get it. That's a possibility. But why can't we just appreciate the inhuman cardio, the aggressive grappling game, the unorthodox striking, the loopy punches, the front snap kicks to the body? I mean, all these big analysts always complain about how MMA fighters don't go to the body. Guess who fucking goes to the body? Tony Ferguson. So yeah, we're going to miss Tony when he's gone. We're going to miss having that kind of action fighter when he's gone. I guarantee it. There's nothing better. Like, if you could pick like top 5 fighters to always watch their fights and Tony Ferguson is not on your list, then what are you doing? Do you not like fun? Do you honestly not like to see really aggressive fighters? I don't understand. But yeah, that's enough of that. It's enough of me bitching about Tony Ferguson and the disrespect and hate he gets. So the next topic I'm going to move on to are my initial reads for Henry Cejudo versus Jose Aldo. Um, I think that it's very easily proven that Aldo is far superior on the feet, and he doesn't even kick anymore. Cejudo's quite limited in his entries into the pocket, and Cejudo doesn't play with his jab. He doesn't have as good head movement. Aldo is much superior everywhere on the feet, and he's very limited on the feet too. That just goes to speak on how much depth Aldo's skill set has. And I don't know if Cejudo's going to be able to draw out counters from Aldo early on. He might be able to as Aldo gets more fatigued. And the answer to that would be Aldo needs to commit to a body attack. Cejudo's been finished with body strikes, and it's likely that Cejudo will use his fire hydrant head to absorb most of the head damage. So going to the body would negate Aldo's perceived cardio disadvantage. So if Aldo doesn't start ripping hooks to the body early, I think it's going to be a long night for him. So I expect to see Cejudo forcing pocket exchanges more often than not. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if Aldo's defensive reactions are lessened to the point to where Cejudo can just catch him with his ultra quick straight punch. And Cejudo seems to favor that punch, and I don't blame him, because the straight punch is an essential technique for me. I wish all fighters would focus on refining that. It's essentially the quickest power punch you can throw. If it lands accurately, it can end fights easily. It's a great counter to kicks as well. Just a really good technique that I feel like not too many fighters focus on, and it's such a powerful technique. But Cejudo focuses on it, and he's had great success with it. So Aldo can win this with body work, but I'm interested to see if Aldo can handle the pace that Cejudo will eventually put on him, because no matter what happens, Cejudo is always a gamer. He's always going to try. And when Cejudo gets his reads, he's going to walk forward and he's going to put you in positions that force you to work. He's going to hand fight. He's going to throw kicks to get into clinches. He's going to do tons of pressuring tactics. And I'm interested to see how Aldo handles that. Is Aldo going to use slick footwork to avoid these situations? Is he going to fight him there and get drained? Who knows? So my initial read on the fight is that Aldo has the cleaner technique, and if he puts together the perfect fight, he can beat Cejudo. But, this is reality, and physical attributes are a thing, and I think it's more likely that Cejudo is going to take all the damage, Aldo's not going to fight a perfect fight, and Cejudo's just going to take over late, and it's going to be pretty sad. But Aldo needs to win for him to be undisputed GOAT in my eyes. So I'm really rooting for him in a big way. So I'm going to say something controversial yet brave. I really think Irene Aldana can beat Amanda Nunes. Oh yeah, I know, I'm stupid. Amanda Nunes can't be beat because she's beaten everyone. I really think that Aldana has the boxing ability and the athleticism to put Amanda Nunes on her ass. And I don't think that that's an exaggeration. I think that Amanda Nunes has good boxing for women's MMA. Like, she understands, like, hey, I can throw the straight punch, I can jab. She gets all of that. But I think that Aldana actually has the crisper combinations, the more fluid technique. She follows through on her hooks better. She has a lot of things about her that I think that if she baits Amanda Nunes into these pocket exchanges, that she will capitalize in a big way. Also, another person I think can be champion but has a lower likelihood is Jeff Neal. I think that Jeff Neal is one of the best prospects we've seen in a very long time. He just now is able to just focus on MMA. Before that, he was waiting tables, and now he is fully focused on MMA. Any fighter that uses the straight punch that much is someone that's going to be close to my heart. I really love the fact that he recognizes, hey, I'm really athletic, I'm really fast, I'm really powerful, so I'm going to throw the most accurate, fastest punch I can. And that's a straight. I mean, he'll throw it telegraphed, he'll throw it not telegraphed, and he also has a great arsenal of kicks. So I think that if he's as athletic as I think he is, that he's going to be able to negate Usman's wrestling enough to keep it on the feet, and there's no doubt in my mind that he can clip Usman on the feet. No doubt in my mind. Also, speaking of Jeff Neal, if you're listening to this podcast and you want a cool fight to watch Jeff Neal and Nico Price. That fight has a double knockdown. Yeah, a double knockdown. That fight is crazy. Nico Price is always game. Well, I don't know what else to talk about, so I think I'm going to wrap this one up. It's been an okay episode. I'm going to ask you guys 4 topics so I can actually have something to talk about. There's no more MMA. Like, the coronavirus, COVID-19 has completely eradicated all sports, so that applies to MMA as well. So it's hard for me to think of things I want to talk about. So if you guys have any topics that you want me to discuss, leave it in the comments and hit me up on Twitter. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed listening. Leave feedback as usual, and I'll see you next time.